Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? An Ironman server is a single life multiplayer server where you're only given one life for the duration of that wipe, meaning once you die, well, you're dead. With those stakes, I figured why not increase the chaos by inviting several noted Project Zomboid YouTubers into the server to play alongside of, with an added challenge that after a limited time frame, endless waves of zombies will begin marching towards us until there's only one survivor. We'll have to spawn in, meet up, find a base, build defenses, go on looting runs, and level up to take on the massive hordes outside of our bootleg Helm's Deep, all in one single life along the way. With that being said, let's get into it. We chose West Point as our spawn location since we figured most players would spawn Rosewood, leaving us one of the larger cities to ransack on wipe day. I went with a high strength, high fitness build along with burglar occupation, giving me the ability to hotwire cars on day one. I also put an emphasis on short blade weaponry since I figured most players would run with blunt weapons, giving me a larger pool to work with. Since I went with deprived, I spawned in naked, so I set out in search of clothing, and after quickly looting the starter home. Getting started would be the most difficult portion of the event. For reference, the starting zombie pop is about 2.5 times higher than a normal game, with an additional 1.5 times peak multiplier. Throw in the fact that I have no shoes, and I'm effectively one cut away from becoming a day one statistic. Luckily, I was able to circle back to a corpse and loot some clothing along with a cowboy hat to get me started. With the basics covered, I began making my way to Twiggys, which was our designated meeting location. Along the way, I ran into Little Flame.
Hey, that's me.
Together, we were able to kite zombies through the school and hotwire our first car. It was during this endeavor that the server managed to claim its first victims. With a working vehicle, the two of us continued our journey across West Point. While driving, we came across a red Jeep sitting outside of a house, so I hopped out and scooped that as well, giving us 2 vehicles before sunrise. Luckily, it already had a key in the ignition, so I just had to press W and we were good to go. Flame was a little ahead of me, so by the time we got to Twiggys, he was already in the middle of being potentially overrun. Willing to risk the Jeep, I slammed into a few zombies before hopping out and using my chef knife to help secure the area. Funny enough, Coco was also in the vicinity and came to lend a helping hand. I tried to keep the zombies away from the others since Flame was out of weapons, so he could really only push zombies around. When there's multiple players in the same area, you really want to space out and stay in a designated area to lower the risk of accidentally kiting zombies into another player, so we did just that. While in the process of clearing Twiggys, another player named Samuel showed up to help out as well. He was actually in the process of looting the gun store right to the north of Twiggys and came over when he heard us struggling. Together, our small band of misfits was able to secure Twiggys by 5:20 that morning. About 30 minutes after that, some dude who fights sprinters on the rooftops of Louisville showed up in Ted Bundy's van, and approximately 30 minutes after that, a wild hazard appeared, bringing all of his fanboys that had to be dealt with. With about half of our group here and Twiggys once again secured, we set out to loot the gun store, which Sam had broken into by yeeting a Molotov at it and climbing in through the side. As a group, we decided to focus on the most common weapons and ammo, such as 9mm rounds and 12 gauge shells, since shotguns and pistols are the most prevalent weapons we'll be able to find and use. Also allows us to leave some extra loot for the other players on the server without just keeping everything for ourselves. Comp came wandering in from the trees at around 8 AM, and with that, we just needed to find Newbert and Ghost. While waiting for them to find their way to us, the group decided to head out to West Point's main street and see if we could find anything useful at the hardware stores. If you don't know, there's the main hardware store that's on the corner of a 4-way intersection, but there's also a hidden hardware store not listed on the official PZ map in between the post office and food market. The big issue we ran into right away was the team of misfit YouTubers made one fatal mistake. Well, they left me in charge of directions. After making a wrong turn in the back entrances of some shops 1 block away from the actual hardware store, we were ambushed by a few dozen zombies. Equipped with items like screwdrivers, 1 knife, and a baseball bat, we fought for our lives with the hopes of finding an additional weapon on any of the zombie corpses we slaughtered. While the group cleaned up the remaining zombies, I set to work hotwiring the nearby cars since they were all in much better condition than what we were currently driving. With the cars hotwired and ready for use, I ran back to the fence line to help Comp and Rick take out the remaining zombies. After finally deciding to stop and ask for directions, we reached the location of the hidden hardware store only to find it ransacked. Whoever beat us here left a few gems that we could use though. Items such as a ball-ping hammer, lug wrench, and a propane torch were all incredibly useful to us, so I threw them in my backpack before heading upstairs to loot the apartment. I was able to find a needle that we could use for tailoring and stitching, along with a ton of dried foods that we could use to tackle the fact that we all went underweight as a starting trait. In the bedroom, I found a ton of guns, but only a Mossberg and Remington were worth taking, as we didn't have any ammo for the M14, and the other shotgun was in terrible condition. With some new weapons available to our group, Hazard and I took out the zombies outside, while the rest of the team went into the nearby shops to loot what they could get their hands on. After throwing our loot in the back of the vehicles, we all settled down to watch some cartoons together. After wrapping up our Teen Titans marathon, we walked outside to see a spooky ghost waiting by the cars for us. Since we still had one more goofy goober to link up with, we began making our way downtown, Vanessa Carlton style, towards the warehouses on the southern end of West Point to see what we could find. The answer? A ton of zombies. And a bus. Oh, a bus, hold on. You son of a... After finding an initial spot to park, we broke out into groups. One group would head into the warehouses and self-storage units to see what they could loot. Another group would work with the zombies, moving as many out of the way as possible and killing the rest, leaving the final group to loot the gas station and fill up the empty gas cans. I went with the runners, pulling a few hundred zombies and leading them into the tree line to the south of the warehouses and gas station. It seemed like a good idea in the moment, but in reality, it only made a small dent in the overall zombie count in the area. Fortunately, while I was leading one group into the woods, the rest of the team was busy clearing the area around the bus, allowing me to head back towards it since I was the only one in the group with the ability to hotwire. Initially, the zombies were tolerable, but that quickly escalated, forcing me to round up another group and lead them to the trees behind the bus. This one didn't work too well though, and most of the zombies ended up just pathing through the trees directly back to me in an effort that'd make the Viet Cong jealous. Luckily, Comp and Little Flame had circled back just as my meat cleaver broke, and Comp sacrificed his baseball bat for the cause before heading back to the warehouse to continue looting. Similar to the school about 12 hours ago, Flame began kiting the zombies around while I focused on hot wiring. With the bus secured, we all split up with plans to meet at the gas station towards the center of West Point. This was a much safer location where we could catch our breath, take stock on our weapons, and fuel up our vehicles all in safety. There was just one problem. We'd forgotten the green car with a trunk full of guns, ammo, and food just sitting back near the warehouse. We figured it'd be safer to head back with a small team, so Flame and I stole a car from earlier and set out to retrieve the gear. Alright,
join up then.
Here, if you want to drive around.
Alright.
Just kind of maneuver through this, maybe? There we go, as long as it starts up.
Yeah, we're waiting at the gas station.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Did you make it?
Yeah, I turned it on, but I couldn't back out, so I just jumped out. A lot of zombies. Didn't get... Okay, at least the car's running, so I should be good.
You got it?
Yep.
Alright, I'm coming back then.
With all our loot accounted for, we took care of our moodles and geared up as best we could given the circumstances. I mean, like, waiting to get into Louisville.
Oh, you mean that?
boring.
I mean, we can go
Like
towards Louis and then stop, like, in the middle.
Stop.
do
I mean, we can
something else overnight.
I was
How
gonna say
about we hit at the shooting range?
Yeah, we can do that.
The rundown of the plan.
Okay, so we are at the gas station right now. We're moving gear over from the green car, and then we're gonna head out and start making our way to Louisville.
Am I?
Oh, I don't know. Are you?
I can.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna throw a bunch of like guns and ammo in there then. It was around this time that a wild ginger came over to graze on the nearby grassy plains. We accepted him into our small tribe of wandering idiots and set off for Louisville. It was already around 7 o'clock at this point, so we didn't plan on truly heading into the city until sunrise the following day. But we figured it wouldn't be a terrible plan to begin making our way there and stopping wherever we felt safe when the sun finally set. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. We had a few working vehicles, no one had died yet, and we even had a developing hierarchy of Blue Hard Hat members. While stopping to loot the bridge, I made the mistake of smashing a window without holding a weapon, giving myself a deep wound and forcing the doctor to come to my aid.
Thought I had a weapon equipped.
Did you open?
Oh no!
Did you break the thing?
Does anyone have a needle and some thread?
I do. Come to me. Come to doctor. The doctor
Please.
is in. Get over here.
Oh, I gotta take
Why
the
are you
glass
running
out.
on the spot?
Where are you? Oh,
Come
no.
over here.
Oh, Coco.
Oh, it's the right forearm too. Turns out he's not even a real doctor, he's just some dude who found a pack of crayons and wrote "I am a doctor" on a piece of paper, and we all just kind of believed him. The whole time Coco was tending to me, the group voiced their displeasure with the bus's condition, but I knew they were really just super jealous of my sweet driving skills. Oh, the bus? The bus, I crashed into a tree
Don't even worry
because
about it.
to prove my worth, I abandoned the damaged bus and headed back into West Point with Newbert to find another. This actually wasn't all that difficult, and we managed to find another one sitting in the Spiffos parking lot. While we did this, another group hit up the mechanic shop right outside of the east entrance to West Point, and Ghost contributed by finding Nemo with a spear. I made it back to the group at around 10 o'clock with the Magic School Bus in perfect condition. It even came equipped with an M19 and some cigarettes in the glove box, which I didn't even know buses had, but hey, you learn something new every day. While hanging out, we found a pretty glaring bug within PZ multiplayer, where seemingly for no reason, players will just disappear for random members. In this case, Flame is standing next to me, but he doesn't appear until he gets back into a car and re-exits.
I am. I'm right in front of you.
You're invisible for me then.
Oh, let me get into my car and get out.
Colin, did you give me a
Gotta
cheese
love
sandwich?
Zomboid multiplayer.
Can you see me now?
Yep, there we go. Okay, perfect. Okay. Anyway, now that the group was all together, we hopped into our cars and began making our way down the highway towards Louisville. Very proud of us that we're all still alive.
Why'd you say that?
We survived a whole day. There's a bus station a small distance outside of the military checkpoint, so we chose to stop there until morning. We arrived just before midnight and got to work clearing the area. I was going back through my notes while cutting all the footage down, and the note quite literally just says, "Hazard Among Us," which led to this gem.
Look, I'm an Among Us character.
Oh
Let
god.
me smell.
Fast forward to the morning, and we found ourselves cruising along the highway towards certain death. Our
Oh damn, son.
Oh, it's cooking.
The checkpoint wasn't nearly as bad as we expected it to be, likely because players had beaten us to it. This is a blessing and a curse. See, I don't think it would have been possible for us to make it through this section unscathed if we were the first to arrive, but that also means we get the leftover loot that wasn't worth taking, at least by another player's standards. We weren't able to find any guns, or even a lot of ammo, but we did manage to come away with a full set of ponchos for every player in our group, along with some N16 mags and some military backpacks, which were much needed considering up until this point, I was still rocking a school backpack with less than half the storage space. Oh, and Rick found a ghillie suit, so that was cool. With most of the checkpoint looted, we began pushing into Louisville. I wasn't a big fan of the bus though, so I gifted it to Comp and decided to continue on a motorcycle I found. Surely he would take fantastic care of it. Be better than me.
Look at this.
Okay.
Oh god!
What was that?
Just happened.
Since we still needed guns and ammo, we targeted a gun store in the southeast of Louisville since it was likely that anyone who had beaten us here already would target the larger POIs first, leaving the small shops relatively unlooted. The only hiccup at this point was the fact that Compt kept DC'ing while driving, so I had to go back and pull off the rescue attempt of a lifetime. Mainly because the game had bugged out again and Compt decided to impersonate John Cena, so I couldn't even see him. I could only see the zombies shambling along behind where he was. The gun store is in the middle of a series of shops right outside of a neighborhood, so we expected the place to be swarming with zombies, but in actuality, the place was pretty calm. We needed a sledge to get into the hunting supply, so I moved up the street to find a hardware store in hopes of finding the sledgehammer. The store itself was unlooted, but didn't have anything of value outside of a couple packs of cabbage seeds, some nails, and a hammer. Without a sledge, we only had one other method of breaking into the hunting supply. See, with fire spread off, you can effectively yeet Molotovs at the walls. They'll burn down one piece, but won't spread to the surrounding buildings or other walls. The only downside is you risk destroying whatever's on the other side of the wall you hit. This was a painstaking process that took multiple attempts to pull off. Eventually, Flame was able to blow a hole in the western wall, giving us access into the building. So, we would like your seat.
Oh no! I can't get in. Oh, there you go. You got shit.
There we go.
I'm in. Wait. Can we get out?
The funny part with this is that we're stuck. Almost all of us were stuck inside the hunting supply, unable to hop back through due to the metal weapons locker blocking the path. We can't pick it up, and we need carpentry level 3 to move the locker. Completely at Hazard's mercy, we began looting the entire store in hopes that he could power level his way into freeing us. After being freed from the hunting supply store, we set our sights on a nearby fire station with the hopes of gathering some axes, which we need to farm logs and planks with. At this point, a couple zombies had begun making their way over to us, so I focused on them to clear the road for the rest of the group. While the group looted the fire station, I stayed outside to defend the area and took the time to level my combat skills a little bit. Something that we desperately need for the finale. After wrapping up there, Rick hopped on the back of my bike and we moved north towards the second fire station, which coincidentally was the primary base of operations for the Liberating Louisville series. I had a ton of fun with the motorcycles this playthrough, and honestly, I think I may prefer them to normal cars going forward. As long as you keep your speed below 50 miles an hour, you're very smooth and easy to turn. Anything above 50 though, and you begin to lose control of the bike. We chose to go ahead of the group and serve as more of the scout team, dealing with the majority of the zombies so that the rest of the group could roll up and begin looting the place. With the rest of the group catching up to us, I changed focus to help loot the place so that we could establish a base before the sunset. Alright, I can head out. I did find another axe, by the way.
Brett, where's that crowbar?
I got a sledgehammer. It's in the garage, the first rack on the right-hand side.
Ooh, sledgehammer?
Sledgehammer, 2 axes so far. I'm in like one of the storage rooms. A lot of tire pumps. Alright, I'm coming out.
Oh, crowbar, baby. Let's go.
Let me drop stuff out here.
2 windows. Okay.
Axes. Oh, they're not gonna fit in the trailer.
No.
Fit the bed of the truck. I'm gonna throw the sledge in the truck. In hindsight, I definitely should have moved the bike out of the way because just as I was walking over to get back on it, luckily it was still in driving condition despite being stone cold sundered through the concrete. All in all, we left both fire stations with around 10 axes and a ton of firefighter clothing. With nothing left to do for the day, we began making our way to what would be our final home for the duration of this playthrough. Along the way, I did my best to reenact tricks from MX vs ATV Unleashed. Oh, jeez.
Sick! Kickflip, dude. Wow.
Turning this into MX vs ATV. We made it to our base destination later that evening, far enough away from the city that the finale wouldn't impact the other players in the server, but close enough that we could make looting runs into town. Fort Knox would be our Helm's Deep, a base that came equipped with some pretty solid defenses, but a large enough opening for us to shape it however we felt the need to.
Oh, here we go.
They should have heard that, right?
I mean, there's basically no zombies in here.
Dude, you killed the clown, bro.
Roof is clear.
Clown?
Clown had it coming.
Clown where? I want that fit.
With the fort secured, we settled down for a midnight feast of painkillers and bourbon. I have 213 kills so far, which, funny enough, is one of the highest in the group at this point. Skill-wise, it's about what I expected, with 3 levels in short blade, 1 in maintenance, and then 2s in all agility stats aside from sprinting, though it's getting there. Next time, we'll be headed into Louisville for some pretty intense looting runs, consisting of a baseball bat factory and the infamous St. Peregrine Hospital, so be on the lookout for that. A very special thank you to all my YouTube members and patrons for giving me the opportunity to do what I love with my friends. I appreciate you all, and as always, thanks for stopping by.